What if I told you the hero of this movie is actually kind of an asshole? No, seriously, what if the guy you're supposed to be rooting for is just a dude having a supernatural midlife crisis who eventually tears his family's life apart because he's bored? Stir of Echoes came out in 1999, and while everyone was losing their shit over The Sixth Sense, this movie quietly delivered a story that, in my opinion, is just as interesting and a hell of a lot creepier. I think this movie is a perfect disaster, and I'm gonna prove it to you.
You suck, you jackass.
Howdy, and thanks for clicking on this video to see what this jackass has to say. I appreciate you. Hop on in as we go back to 1999 and dissect Stir of Echoes. Now, there's a lot of people who might not even remember this one, but I think it's secretly one of the most underrated horror flicks of the 90s, and it's also a perfect movie to watch on Halloween if you want something that's not just another slasher. Before we really kick things off, let's talk about what it's about.
What's it about, man?
So Stir of Echoes follows Tom Witzke, played by Kevin Bacon, a working-class phone lineman living in Chicago with his pregnant wife Maggie and their son Jake. Tom's your typical blue-collar dude who feels like life passed him by. He wanted more but ended up ordinary. Classic midlife crisis stuff. So one night at a neighborhood party, Tom's sister-in-law Lisa, who's this crystal-loving, aura-reading, granola, paranormal obsessed type, offers to hypnotize him. Tom, naturally being a skeptic and probably a few beers deep, is like, yeah, sure, prove it. So Lisa puts him under and plants this post-hypnotic suggestion telling him to be more open-minded.
What's the worst that can happen?
Somebody turn out the lights.
And boy, does it backfire. Tom wakes up and suddenly he's not just open-minded, he's basically a supernatural antenna. He starts having these intense visions of a teenage girl named Samantha Kozak, who happened to go missing from the neighborhood about 6 months earlier. And Tom becomes obsessed with figuring out what exactly happened to her. Now, here's where I think it starts to get interesting. Tom's son, Jake, already has the ability to see and talk to dead people.
Hey, Jake.
You're awake now, Daddy.
The kid's been having full conversations with ghosts this whole time, and nobody noticed. He's just sitting over there being creepy. But after Tom gets hypnotized, he realizes he's got this psychic connection with his son. But unlike Jake, who's actually pretty chill about it, Tom is losing his damn mind. Naturally, Tom starts digging up his backyard like a lunatic because the visions won't stop. His wife Maggie thinks he's having a full-blown breakdown. His friends think he's gone crazy, and honestly, he kinda has. The guy's tearing apart his life trying to solve this mystery because Samantha's ghost won't leave him alone until he finds out the truth. And like so many things, the deeper Tom digs, literally and figuratively, the more dangerous things get. Turns out Samantha, who had an intellectual disability, was lured into a house by some neighborhood boys, and when she resisted their attempt to assault her, they accidentally killed her and hid her body. Tom eventually discovers her remains behind a brick wall in his basement, and when the truth comes out, the people who covered it up try to kill Tom and his family to keep the secret buried. In the end, Tom exposes the killer. Samantha's spirit finally finds peace and walks away. And wisely, the family packs up and moves out of that cursed house, but the movie ends with a reminder that Jake still hears the voices of the dead and they're not going away anytime soon. Now that we got what it's about out of the way, let's talk about the people who made this movie happen. Kevin Bacon, I think, absolutely crushes it in the lead role. This was prime Bacon, and he brings this manic, unhinged energy that makes you believe he's actually going insane. And I think Bacon sells every second of it. By the way, there's this moment where he kicks a bucket in the backyard and it smashes through a window. That really wasn't supposed to happen. The window breaking was a total accident, but Bacon stayed in character and kept going, so they left it in the movie. Personally, I love stories like that. It just shows how committed he was to the role. Catherine Erb plays his wife Maggie, and she's great as this worried spouse trying to hold the family together while her husband spirals out of control. Ileana Douglas plays Lisa, the sister-in-law who kicks off this whole mess with her hypnosis party trick. And then there's the kid, Zachary David Cope, who plays Jake. And I think he does a pretty solid job as the creepy kid who sees ghosts, which in 1999 was basically a requirement for any supernatural movie. We also have a very young Jennifer Morrison as the ghost Samantha, as she brings this haunting sadness to the role. And there's a super small role for a Chicago cop named Neil, played by Eddie Bo Smith Jr. Neil is part of this underground group of people who can see the dead, and he has this great scene scene where he explains to Maggie what's happening to Tom. Neil represents something funny that nobody seems to talk about, and Hollywood older black dudes always seem to notice when kids have supernatural visions. Am I the only one who notices this? I think it's one of the oddest stereotypes that shows up in movies and nobody really calls it out. Like, where did it come from? Why is it always the character archetype? It's bizarre, but also kind of hilarious when you think about it. Anyway, let's talk about the man behind the camera, David Koepp, who wrote and directed Stir of Echoes. And in the 90s, this dude was already a screenwriting legend. By 1999, he'd already written Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible, and Spider-Man was coming up. The guy knows how to tell a story. He's definitely got some misses under his belt, but his hits really stand above the rest. Stir of Echoes was actually based on a 1958 novel by Richard Matheson, the same author who wrote I Am Legend and a whole bunch of Twilight Zone episodes. So the source material is rock solid. David Koepp actually wanted to make this movie for years, and it shows. He builds this slow, creeping dread throughout the film. It's not jump scare city, it's tension and atmosphere. The movie was shot on location in Chicago, and that blue-collar working-class neighborhood vibe is crucial to this story. It grounds everything. You believe these people live there. You believe this could happen in that house. And here's a fun fact. During the hypnosis flashback scene, there's a shot where a safety pin gets stuck through Tom's hand. That wasn't a special effect. They actually got a stunt guy to jam a real safety pin through his own hand for the scene. One of the best aspects of Stir of Echoes, in my opinion, is that it's not a traditional horror movie. It's really a whodunit mystery mixed with horror elements. The ghost story is the vehicle, but the real meat of the film is Tom trying to solve what happened to Samantha. It's a murder mystery where the victim's literally pushing him to find the truth from beyond the grave. And you can clearly see the influences here. This movie has major inspiration from The Shining. You got a father figure slowly losing his mind, a kid with psychic abilities, and this oppressive atmosphere of dread. There's even a scene where Tom argues with Maggie about his digging, and Kevin Bacon is channeling Jack Nicholson's unhinged energy from The Shining. I don't look at it as a ripoff. It feels like more of a tribute. I mean, it's David Koepp. After all, he knows what he's doing. The pacing of this movie is great. The movie doesn't drag, and it doesn't rush. It builds. Every vision, every new piece of information, every conversation pushes Tom closer to the truth. And because we're experiencing it through Tom's eyes, we're just as obsessed as he is. As the audience, we need to know. What I think makes Stir of Echoes work is that it takes supernatural horror and grounds it in something real and dark. The ghost isn't just scary for the sake of being scary. Samantha's a victim. She was a young woman with a disability who trusted the wrong people, and they murdered her for it. The horror comes from that human evil, not just the supernatural. That's what I think makes it hit harder. All right, let's get into some behind-the-scenes stuff, because this movie actually has some pretty cool trivia. First off, the hypnosis scene. The sequence where Tom gets put into a trance actually follows techniques used by professional hypnotists. To make sure the audience didn't actually get hypnotized and fall asleep, they added a musical accent at the end of the scene to wake everyone up. So yeah, they were actually worried about putting moviegoers into a trance. I would have loved to have seen that. When they were setting up the scene where Maggie leaves Jake at her relative's house, they realized they'd gone over the number of hours the child actor could legally work because of strict child labor laws. So crew members had to run from house to house in the neighborhood to find a kid who looked enough like Zachary David Cope to appear as a background character. They got the parents' approval, gave the kid a quick haircut, and finished the shot. Real problems require real solutions. Kevin Bacon was actually in serious pain during the backyard digging scenes because he'd pulled a muscle in his neck. They tested lightweight prop picks to make it easier on him, but Bacon insisted on using the real heavy pick because the props didn't look convincing on camera. The guy literally worked through the pain to make it look authentic. You gotta admire the dedication. Oh, and in one scene, the babysitter's reading The Shrinking Man by Richard Matheson, the author of the novel Stir of Echoes is based on. It's a nice little Easter egg for fans who catch it. The movie also features a killer cover of Painted Black by the band Gob. Some people think it's better than the Rolling Stones original.
I think that's bullshit.
Stir of Echoes was released on September 10th, 1999, exactly 1 month after The Sixth Sense. And The Sixth Sense at this point was a cultural phenomenon. It eventually made over $670 million worldwide, got 6 Oscar nominations, and everyone was talking about the twist ending. So when Stir of Echoes hit theaters, it got completely overshadowed. overshadowed. It only made $21 million on a $12 million budget, which is technically profitable, but it had nowhere near the success it deserved. And you know what? Critics actually liked it. Reviews praised Kevin Bacon's performance, the atmosphere, and the suspenseful storytelling. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a solid score, with critics calling it an effective thriller. Roger Ebert and other critics pointed out the similarities to The Sixth Sense and The Shining, but most agreed that Stir of Echoes was doing its own thing and doing it very well. The problem really wasn't quality, the problem was timing and marketing. Artisan Entertainment, the studio behind the film, didn't have the budget to compete with The Sixth Sense massive marketing push, so Stir of Echoes came and went without much fanfare. People who actually watched it love it. It's become one of those hidden gems that horror fans recommend to each other. In a lot of ways, it's aged better than The Sixth Sense. It doesn't rely on a twist ending. It's just a solid, well-made supernatural thriller that really respects its audience. Now, if you go all over YouTube or even look at some more modern reviews, they've been even kinder. People appreciate the grounded blue-collar setting, the performances, and the fact that it's not jump scare garbage. I personally can't stand that shit. It's a movie that trusts its story and its atmosphere. And Kevin Bacon's even talked about how he believes Stir of Echoes deserves way more love. He's really proud of it, and you know what? He should be. So here's my take. Stir of Echoes is an almost great movie that got screwed by bad timing. It's not perfect, it definitely feels a bit dated in some ways, and there are big plot holes if you really sit back and think about it. Like the whole hypnosis thing with Lisa. She hypnotizes Tom at a party, unlocks his supernatural abilities, and then just kind of disappears from the movie. She pops up whenever the plot needs her to advance things, but there's no consistency. It's really just convenient writing. And then there's that subplot with the cop Neil and the group of psychics. We get this one scene where they explain that most people have a mental door that's open for a brief period, but some can keep it open for longer. It's a cool idea, but then we just never see them again. What happened to that group? What was the point? It ultimately feels like a thread that goes nowhere. But you know what? Despite those flaws, this movie really works. Kevin Bacon's phenomenal, the mystery's engaging, the pacing's tight, the atmosphere's creepy without being over the top, and it's not a hard R rating, which makes it a decent gateway horror movie for the teenage horror enthusiasts in your life. It's got some violence and disturbing themes, but it's not gratuitous. Personally, one of the things I love most about Stir of Echoes is that it's fun as hell to revisit. It's become this comforting Halloween watch for me. It's like visiting an old friend. You know exactly what's gonna happen, but you enjoy the ride anyway. And honestly, in today's world of endless horror remakes and sequels and franchises, it's refreshing to go back to a standalone film that tells a complete story and doesn't need a universe built around it. I think this is a perfect movie to watch on Halloween if you're looking for something a little less traditional. It's not the typical slasher or monster movie. It's a ghost story with a mystery at its core, and I think it's genuinely entertaining. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and check it out. If you have seen it, it's time for a rewatch. All right, so here's my question to you. What's a Halloween movie that you think deserves more love? What's that hidden gem that nobody talks about but you swear by? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear some of your picks. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I've got a ton more movie deep dives coming your way, and I really don't want you to miss them. You should also check out my ranking of the best horror movies from the 90s. Link will be in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. As always, the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone, but what do I know? I'm but a mere jackass. I'll try to do better next time. Catch you later, friends.
Don't know shit. I'm just a jackass of all trades.